abroad and distinguished guests from our own country. May the intention behind this wonderful forum be auspicious, fulfilling, and beneficial. I like to say that to make effective impact by operationalizing implementation of GNH, we must act on those specified variables in the GNH matrix. Direct improvement of GNH index depends really on precise actions, although positive action can also come on GNH index through indirect actions, but it would be better to be more precise. As you distinguished guest and Your Majesty already outlined and is completely in comprehension of whole thing, GNH methodology, as you know, incorporates twin concepts of sufficiency and parity, and this too holds up in another way the principal commitment of the government and the state of Bhutan, the people of Bhutan, to sustainability on one hand, and might I say egalitarianism on the other. But GNH methodology or aggregation method gives some statistical and mathematical expression to these ideas, which are somewhat weak elsewhere, in my opinion. Sustainable development and egalitarianism are given, therefore, concrete measurements in parity. The parity here in GNH methodology means that GNH in index is relative to sufficiency. So sufficiency in terms of each variable for each individual. The implication of this is, of course, that if you do anything to address anything which is already sufficient, there is no impact on GNH index. So in this way, it is quite a strict methodology. But GNH also, as you know, incorporates, as Her Majesty already outlined, a range of variables going up to 135. And these diverse variables is directed at rich fulfillment and fulfillment to rich diversity in life, not maximizing one or two things. As I mentioned, the core principles embodied in GNH are sustainable development, which implies, of course, ecological preservation, and egalitarianism in politics, economics, and social life. Now, with this very brief background, I would like to, conceptual background, in this esteemed forum, I would like to briefly select and introduce just 2 or 3 areas, such as household income, stress, health, and subjective happiness. The reason why I'm doing this is that they also raise some issues in GNH measurement and findings. And the important thing is to know what are the causes behind some of these things selected from the domains of GNH. I will begin with income, but I will also conclude circling back to the income issue, because this is, as Her Majesty mentioned, is become a deadly obsession of human beings without looking at other things. My presentation really is about income, stress, health and subjective happiness, and what are their determinants in order for the operationalizer to take into account the causal factors behind these things. Of course, there are many other things in GNH, but the time use, which in itself is a domain of GNH, restricts me. So this is just to give what are the variables taken into account in GNH. This is well known, but now I come to income. Household income estimation is methodologically superior to the calculation of GDP, as all of you know, because in GDP you include corporate profits, taxes, depreciation, and imputed rents, etc. But in household income, we do not do these things, but we include such things like remittances and business income. But this is the one which is the main vehicle as far as money goes that supports your living. Here you see the three main sources of household income in Bhutan, which corroborates very well with Bhutan Living Standard survey. But this is from GNH. I would like to point out that the income from agriculture, livestock, and forest has been growing at the rate of 3% nominally. But if you factor in inflation, which has been growing at 4 to 5%, this growth is completely wiped out. And so the income from agriculture, livestock, and forestry is either receding or stuck and stagnant. And the implication for those who operationalize on economics front is quite clear from here. And the income from agriculture, livestock, and forestry is now only about 12% of the total household income of 3,31,000, which corresponds to about $3,700 US. But the distinction here is that this is not per capita income, this is household income. And in a house there are 4 members. That means that the per capita household income is barely 83,000 nultram per year. And this is the gap we have to be very mindful instead of citing GDP per capita, and that has propelled us to leave the LDC countries status, I think, too prematurely, in my opinion. So it doesn't work. Can you move forward? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Which one did you get? No, it didn't. Sorry, can you bring the laptop? I think better. So another thing very rapidly I want to show is that in the household income, there is immense variation on the mean income by district. So that showed there is a huge dispersal around the mean income, which is in Bhutan, as you see. I can't control this. I don't know who's doing it. The inequality of household income is greater within a district than between districts. This is the most important thing. And in places like Shemgang, Thimphu, Sarpang, Paro, the inequality is much greater within the district, much greater within the districts. Anyway, the implication for you, once again, those who are addressing income generation, is quite clear from here, where the household income is very low within the country. If you act in better off countries, there is no impact on GNH. That's what I wanted to convey. Implication of where the government and NGOs, which have made glorious contribution in recent decades to our country's progress. Now, as regards the causes of earning, it is no great surprise to some extent. There's the effect size on household income is greatest from qualification. We must distinguish qualification from education. We have not yet come to defining education very well, but qualification can be given by any university, and the pays are fixed according to qualification. So that's making a big difference compared to illiterate people. Followed by such factors like land ownership and being and also the size of the household. So those who are having greater members in their households are richer, and lastly, those who migrate are much richer. Negatively associated factors with income generation are now it is quite obvious: rural residents, and strangely, owning livestock is now associated with poorer household. And the recent change in pasture law and so many things would only degrade this possibility of poverty associated with livestock ownership. Poor health, and this is well known, you can't earn, but being female and aging are also having negative association with household. And I once again laud the activities of Tarayana because they are very targeted towards upliftment of women. And of course also aging, which is contributing to decline in income earning. So operational implications are also quite clear from here. I can show that the asset position is of the migrants are always exceeding the those who do not migrate. And that means that the level of capacity of those who remain behind are getting worse off compared to migrants. Better people are, clever people, able people are moving ahead. So we have to do something substantial with regard to migration. I also, as a child of semi-nomadic family, I became very attached to this kind of calculation, which shows that livestock growth is negative in this country. And no one can live without livestock. This is sheerly impossible as we go forward. And in the next century, a lot of people will not see livestock in this country. They disappear. Mithun, horse, etc. will disappear right in the middle of this century. So we have to do something quite drastic with this. I would now like to talk a little bit about stress, which is a universal phenomena rising in all countries. And stress is measured by a package of 12 questions, which is well accepted all over the world. And the findings of this stress survey question built into our GNH can correspond very well with clinical depression, and about 4.3% of our population suffer from severe mental distress. And leading within this 4.3% are female and rural people. At all age groups, females suffer more stress than men. And the finding from Bhutan also show that that we have made great progress in terms of positive mental health. Problems have been getting less and less as less and less people are suffering from sort of the negative one up there. But we can also see that gradually there is less and less people who are feeling somewhat ecstatic and very happy, more than usually happy. The proportion is declining over since 2020, 2025. They are not depressed, but there is also no great elation and joy in their life. That is the main point. The main point I want to say is that our score with regard to normal mental health is very good compared internationally. where does the stress, I apologize, Your Majesty and distinguished guests, I can't control this. Where does the main stress come from? And these are the negative factors up there and the positive ones. And the thought of suicide, they do not commit suicide, but everyone occasionally has this feeling, and that is so powerfully related to stress, mental stress. Now, what causes the idea of suicide? We found out it is mainly relational breakdown in our country. It is not material. So again, those who forget this kind of thing, it is a warning that we do not focus on economics alone. Being disabled, of course, is the main source of stress, and disability comes here at the age of 58 or so and goes on worsening. 1 disability, 2 disability, 3 disability, 4 disabilities, etc. Being victimized, being unemployed, lacking social support, and again, once again, being female is associated more with mental stress. And those positive ones which reduce stress are having trustworthy relationship, having some sort of satisfaction, which is both material and also something to do with your attitude. And a little bit of influence also comes from having little more income. I won't go into the interpretation of it, but this is the general idea. So there is a stress, severely distressed group increased in this country, perhaps due to COVID in 2022 compared to 2015. And there are some outstanding districts which have been affected by the rise in stress level. You can see that at any age group, the proportion of female who are suffering from severe mental distress is higher than male at any given level. This is a convincing evidence that we have to do something. I also like to say that from the point of view of implementation, we have to have two separate approaches because the statistics confirm that they are distinct phenomena. Addressing negative mental health will not promote positive mental health, and vice versa, because this kind of factor loading confirm that they are independent phenomena. Finally, health, which is a very important input into happiness. If you ask people, what are the 3 most important things you need to increase your happiness? Invariably in our country, second one is health. When we ask people, what is your self-reported diagnosis of ill health? There are 2 outstanding factors, and that is blood pressure and gastritis or reflux of acid. And together, they contribute about 40% of morbidity pattern in this country. This is not going to be solved by consultative approach with doctor staying in the clinical room and waiting for the people. It's much better to go out, and I hope that Tarayana will also adopt a medical aspect to the foundation. I think this would bring back lots of lost days amongst our population, and lots of disability will also be solved thereby. But the implication is not only on medical approach, Medicare, but food supply and food chain, which in my opinion has gone wrong and has been neglected for a long time and given to the market. But the market will bring all kind of cheap and unhealthy things. So, I'd like to say that the health is linked in our country according to the findings of GNH, vast data set, to aging, not naturally. Every year we add brings us closer to some sort of disability or skeletal, neural, muscular degeneration unless we act against it. But more important thing to note is really gender and availability of knowledge about health is affecting health. So ladies are reporting far worse health than men. And those who have knowledge are reporting far less health problem because they are aware, they go for diagnosis and treatment. So once again, you can see proportion of people, you can see I think this is a very important chart. It's a very important chart. I'm so sorry, this is beyond my control. Main thing is that women are losing more days to sick days from both physical and mental ill health compared to men. Can I wanted to show one chart. I wanted to show one chart where the percentage of people reporting ill health is so steep or higher in eastern Bhutan compared to the rest of the country. And that should have also obvious implication where you put more referral centers. But ours is a bit skewed. The referral system is all in western and southwestern Bhutan. And the number of days lost, which confirms the self-report of ill health, is also very high. In Pema Gasel, on Sitsirang, per month, 4 days nearly lost to illness. Yangtze, 4 days lost to illness. Compared to Bumthang, which is fairly rich, or Chukha, is only 1 day is lost to ill health per month. Now you multiply this by 12, obviously you can get the implication. In Tashigang, 4 into 12, 48 days are being lost to sickness and illness in Tashigang or so forth, which we need to address this. Last one, subjective happiness. I want to show the result of the regression analysis, which tells us what are the factors that contribute strongly to subjective happiness. Subjective happiness is as you report yourself, 0 to 10. If you're 10, our national score is 6+, which is extremely high given our economic status. This is quite close to many countries, including very close to Singapore, which may have multiple times per capita income. So the result here shows us some surprising things. That is that subjective happiness is influenced, first of all, by integrity of the family. So if you have a harmonious, integrated, cooperative family, this is the single most important factor for subjective happiness. And this is not what you will get from evidence from Western countries. So the viability, integrity of the family, which further depends on the viability and the networking with the village, as therefore the community vitality, which Her Majesty outlined or pointed out, becomes truly important. And that is a different field than economic approach to maintaining happiness. Those who, of course, second most important factor, predictably is health. But thereafter, it is quite surprising that those who perceive government is reducing inequality are much happier, much happier. Those who are not participating in formal labor force are also much happier. Those who report, report that they contribute to environmental preservation are also much happier compared to those who do not say that they contribute to environmental preservation and therefore have some values of environmental preservation. The most surprising result from this analysis is that income is 8th in the rank of determination of subjective happiness. So it is quite low, whereas most people, through illusion, they think this is the most important thing. So, an increase in 1 unit of income, if you split society into 10 slabs of income, increase in 1 unit of income from, say, 2nd decile to 3rd decile, your subjective happiness increases by 11%. But the overall ranking of the role of income in determination of subjective happiness in our country is quite low. So with this very brief and very erratic PowerPoint, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for this opportunity. May I once again say that the intention behind this forum be auspiciously realized. Thank you very much.